Joining us right now to offer the Democratic position on these negotiations. Also, we'll talk taxes with him. Steny Hoyer, representative from Maryland's 5th District, Congressional District, and House Minority Whip, and a friend of Squawk, because we get to see you all the time, but not in person, sir.
Well, it's great to be here. You're right. We're usually talking to one another through the airwaves.
You're going to try to shut down the government? Is that what we hear?
Yeah, you heard that from Mick. But he's the only guy I know that really wants to shut down the government.
What do you think is really going to happen here, just so we understand?
We're not going to shut down. Nobody believes that Democrats want to shut down the government, period. That's irrational. We want to see the government operating. I represent 62,000 federal employees. They're always put at angst when you get down to these deadlines. The fact of the matter is, I talked to Mr. McCarthy yesterday. We want to see a bill passed that will have full agreement. We agree on probably 80%. Right. Now, you would think the rational person would say, okay, we agree on 80%. We'll put the 20% aside. The bill will include the 80% on which we agree, and we'll pass it, and we'll fund the government, and then we'll argue about that on which we do not agree. That's the reasonable thing to do. Hopefully we'll do that, and hopefully we'll do it in the next 48 hours.
What's the reasonable thing to approach tax reform at this point? You saw the plan, the sort of blueprint.
No, I haven't seen the plan. I've seen a one-pager that in the Washington Post.
Right. Oh, so
Wall Street Journal.
Call it what you will.
Yeah.
Call it even an anchoring technique in terms of starting the negotiation. Reasonable, responsible people. Can you get your heads together and make something work, and what does it look like?
I think reasonable, responsible people can get their heads together. The issue is, are we going to have reasonable, responsible interface with the administration? That really hasn't happened to date. Certainly hasn't happened on health care, hasn't happened on jobs, hasn't happened on draining the swamp. So we'll see. But the answer to your question is, yes, it can happen. The last time it happened was 1986. It happened largely because Rostenkowski, O'Neill, Reagan, and Packwood sat down and agreed.
Would you accept any level of dynamic scoring in a tax plan?
I'm not in favor of dynamic scoring. Let me tell you why I'm not for dynamic scoring. Not because I don't believe there is a dynamic effect of the actions you take. But if you anticipate a positive result and a negative result happens, you've dug a hole. On the other hand, if you don't anticipate that and you plan on what the straight scoring of the bill is, and you get more than you thought, then you have a bonus. And you can spend that bonus either to bring down the debt or invest in programs that are important. I think dynamic scoring is, frankly, a very risky, and we saw in '81 it didn't work. We saw in '01 and '03 it didn't work. And very frankly, I think the bill that has been proposed, and we don't have a bill, but the outline, some speculate it's going to cost $6 trillion in debt, and the president says we don't need to pay for it. I think that's irresponsible.
You only worked it all in '81, Steny. Seriously, if you get 7% GDP growth,
187% increase in the national debt.
I understand, but also the end of the Cold War with the defense buildup. But I mean, good things. You can't go back and change the history of the '80s. Good things happened in the '80s.
I think. Quickly. Joe, I agree with that.
Okay, but that wasn't because of the dynamic effect of the tax cuts.
It may have been, but the fact is, we went.
No, I understand.
Very much further in debt.
I understand.
Under Ronald Reagan.
Much farther in debt under Ronald Reagan than we did under Obama.
On a defense basis. On a defense build-up, but you saw what happened and why we built up the defense.
I supported the defense build-up.
Right.
The issue is, fine, pay for it. Don't have our kids and grandchildren pay for it.
I understand, but I mean, we're talking about 700,000 jobs in a jobs report a couple of times. We're talking about 5%. We averaged 3.6% GDP.
In our lifetime,
4%.
When was the best job performance in the last?
You mean under the Newt Gingrich led Congress?
The Newt Gingrich led Congress
that actually held back and that worked with Clinton on welfare reform and on.
They had the presidency. But guess what happened in 2000? They had the presidency, they had the House, they had the Senate, and what happened at the end of it?
2008.
What happened at the end of it? We had the worst recession anybody at this table has experienced.
Congressman, they're not expecting to work with you on tax bill. They're just not. But they need to work with you to fund the government.
Ronald Reagan expected to work with us. Ronald Reagan and Jim Baker.
That's a different
Democratic
party.
It was a
different Democratic
vastly
party,
different Republican Party.
True.
I will absolutely. I'd be glad to argue with you and look at the figures and do the data as to which party has changed more. The Republican Party is a vastly different, much more ideological, much more hardline party than it was in 1981.
You're not in the center of the Democratic Party right now, Stanley. You're on the right of the Democratic Party.
You're trying to hurt me, Joe?
By calling you on the right.
Oh, my Democratic friends are going to say
that was a huge compliment
from you.
Congressman, very quickly, though, no shutdown of the government this week?
Becky, we don't want to shut down. As I say, I talked to Mr. McCarthy yesterday. We want to cooperate. But we're not going to be put in hostage. We're not going to be
you got your border wall thing, and then you change it, you keep moving the goalposts. You got what you want, just do it. What do you not like now? Puerto Rico?
Sure.
You're going to do it on Puerto Rico?
I think Puerto Rico is a very important issue.
Injury prevention and performance go hand in hand. The way we approach anyone is to work very collaboratively to make sure that our